Hello, hello. Good evening.
Good evening, teacher. How are you?
I am good. Thank you very much.
Evening.
Let me see. Let me turn myself up a little bit. All right. Here we are. Thursday night. How's it going?
Good.
Good.
Thank you. And
Glad
you?
to hear
Yes.
it. Glad to hear it. We
Finally
have
Thursday. Huh?
we have made it to another week. Yes. We have made it to
Yes.
another week. Here comes David. I just got done ordering the flowers for my mother. So Mother's Day coming up, right?
Oh,
Oh,
great.
that is good.
So I have my mother sending some flowers. At least I can give her flowers on Mother's Day. She's
Yeah.
my
He
my
lives around
my.
here, teacher?
Now she lives in back in South Dakota, but
Oh,
she lives in
oh,
a senior apartment, and she's been in prison for the last 2 months. They haven't let her out of the apartment. They say nobody goes in, nobody goes out.
Oh,
it's been
So I don't
hard
sorry.
know.
for all the people, huh?
Yeah, they might have to spray the flowers down with antiseptic or something.
Good evening.
I don't know. See what happens. We'll see what happens.
What's
I
up, Shane?
just got done ordering. Good morning. Good evening, Ching. Nice to see you. Good to. Okay, who's Galaxy S9 Plus over here? Is that
Oh,
Guadalupe?
I'm no, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Rosendo.
I think it's mine. Yes.
Rosendo. Okay, let me give you your name so I can figure out who is who. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, here we are. We made it to the end of the week.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit funny because we're going to start the new chapter tonight, but that will keep us on schedule. That will keep us on schedule. Right now we're finishing up chapter 2, and we go into chapter 3 tonight. So hopefully we can finish chapter 3, and then remember we already did chapters 9 and 10 at the end of, or actually 8, 9, and 10. So we only have chapter 4, 5, 6, 7. Four more chapters to go. We got 4 weeks to go. So I think we can do it. Si se puede. We'll do our best. And remember, if you ever miss a class, there's always those classes on YouTube. So please check out those classes if you need to review or you need extra study. And you can just skip past the boring parts and go to the parts where the main point is explained. All right, no problem.
No, no
No
problem.
problem. All right, let's jump into our lesson tonight. Do our verb warm up, and let me see if I can find the proper screen to open up here. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's see. 5-7. That's today, right?
Yes.
Here we go. Can you see it?
yes.
You see the English practice in front of you?
No, I am
Perfection.
what can
X.
No,
What is this? Good
the sequence
pet?
is
You see
good pet,
something different? Okay, hold on.
yes,
friend.
All right.
cat, cats and dogs.
Okay, that was my explanation for the morning class. How about that?
Now I
Yeah.
yes.
Much better? Okay. All right, here we go. All right, now this one has the word already, this number 1, but look over here. It says already by the time I got home. Remember we talked about this in the second week of the class, right? What do we have here? We have perfect, but do we have present perfect or past perfect?
Passport.
Past perfect, exactly. So we're going to say had.
Had cooked.
Had already cooked.
Fred had already cooked dinner by the time I got home. That's past perfect. Had already cooked. All right, we have number 2 here. What kind of food? and then we have Stanley's Restaurant. So what can we say?
Is served.
Is
Served.
served. Very good.
Is served.
Simple, present, and passive.
Is served.
What kind of food is served at Stanley's Restaurant? Is
Yes.
served.
Served.
The next one, we have a time clause, right? We have after over here.
Aw.
So when we have after, even though we're talking about tomorrow, we don't need will, right? Because we have will over here. I will take you to the airport.
There you check up.
Exactly.
Okay.
After you check out of the hotel, I will take you to the airport. All right. For the last few months, that means it's still happening now, right? So what can we say?
I have been getting.
I have been getting
You
up.
got it. You got it. Have been getting up at 5:30. Or maybe you could say have gotten.
Have gotten.
Have gotten. Oops. All right, we got another customer here, Isadora. Okay, very good. All right, now this one is back to our conditionals we started talking about a couple weeks ago. What do we have here? If their parents didn't make them. Past tense. Remember the partner of past tense?
Yes.
Doesn't?
What's the partner of past?
Wouldn't study.
Wouldn't, exactly.
Wouldn't study.
Oh,
Wouldn't, very good. Past and wouldn't study. They wouldn't study so hard if their parents didn't make them.
Wouldn't.
Okay, the next one says every meal. Whenever you see every, it's going to be a general statement, right? Every day, every week, every month, every meal.
Brush.
Brush, right? Simple present. Now the next one says so far today. So far today means until now, right? Until now. So what can we say? How many questions?
Have you asking?
You
Have you?
asked it.
And then ed, right?
Have you?
Have you
Yeah.
asked?
The how many, we're going to use present perfect, right?
Or
How many questions have you asked? How many cups of coffee have you drunk? How many times have you visited Disneyland? Right? From the past until now. Now the next one says you might have an accident. You might have an accident. Maybe.
If you drive too fast.
If you drive too fast, exactly. If you drive too fast, you might have an accident. If you drive. Very good. All right. Al went to Dallas last week, but before that,
I haven't taken any.
hadn't taken it. Right.
Hadn't taken.
That's our past perfect again.
Hadn't taken.
He hadn't taken a trip for a long time. Hadn't taken. Number 10, it says originally. Originally sounds like past to me, huh?
Where did?
Did, exactly.
Where did?
Where did Walter originally
meet?
meet his fiancee? Did,
Meet. Oh, see.
okay. Okay, all right, the next one. The next one says,
I was
Choose.
chosen. I was chosen.
exactly. Past participle is chosen, right?
Was chosen.
Like chosen.
I was chosen by my classmates to give the presentation, right? Whenever we have that word by, we know it's going to be a passive, right?
Mhm.
Okay, let's see. The next one says sometime next week.
Haven't been.
I will not expect to my boss until sometime next week.
Will not speak, or we could make it a little bit shorter and say won't,
I won't speak to.
or
I won't.
I'm not. Oops.
I won't.
Or I'm not going to speak.
Oh.
I won't speak, or I'm not going to speak until sometime next week. All right, the next one says, while.
While I was doing
I was doing.
Exactly. While I was doing my laundry. Was doing.
the
While I was doing my laundry. While I was doing. Very good.
Where will you sit?
Where would you sit?
Where will you sit at
Where will-
the hockey game tomorrow?
Will you sit? I agree with that. I agree with that. Just a second. I have to open up a file here for the next thing. Okay. So will you sit is what we're going with, right? Okay. Where will you sit or where are you going to sit? Both are okay. I'm going to put will in there just to make it easy. Now the next one, again, we have to look carefully at our subject. What's the subject here? The tree.
Got damaged?
Ah,
Got
that's a
damaged.
good idea. That's a good idea from last night, right?
Was
Yes.
damaged.
Damage.
Yeah,
Was damaged.
yeah. Now Ching had an idea, and I think Armando had an idea, and they're both good ideas. I can say was damaged,
Was damaged.
but
Was
remember
damaged.
last night, if you have something bad happen, you can say got damaged.
Got
Right?
damaged.
Oh, God damn it.
Remember that from last night?
Yes, got damaged.
That was our lesson from last night, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Right? During the storm, the tree got damaged or the tree was damaged, right? Was damaged is more impersonal. Got damaged is more informal English, but they're both good. Next one says for many years. So that means from many years ago until now. So what can we say there?
Has been played?
Has not played.
Hasn't played, right?
Hasn't played.
Or it's negative?
Now you could say hasn't been playing, but for negative, I prefer to use the present perfect. All right. Now the next one says for 10 minutes. Well, that's going to be the same as number 16, right?
Has been.
Has been, right?
Has been.
Has been.
Now number 18, look at the subject. The subject is words. Words, words, words. So what can we say here?
Did I spell?
Work.
Spell.
Word spelled, right?
Spell.
Word spell.
Because it's a passive. How many words were spelled incorrectly on my test? Because the student spells the word, right? So the word is spelled, or in this case, past tense. Were spelled. Number 19 says next Christmas. That sounds like the future.
Yeah.
Won't.
We won't, right?
Oh,
Or aren't going to. Aren't going to visit. Both fine. The next one says every day, but the verb is have. So we want a singular for have. What do we say?
Has.
S, right? You gotta have that S there. Every day Bill has a talk. Now this one says after you graduate.
Will you work?
Where will you work or where are you going to work, right?
Where are you going to work?
Or will you? No problem. Number 22, the company will call you. If what?
Need.
If
Need.
they
Need you.
need more information. Simple present. All right. Number 23. My brother and sister were watching TV when I...
was walking.
We could say was walking, but we could also say walked.
Walked.
Walk.
Walk into the
The
room.
reason I prefer walked is because it's very short action to walk into a room, right? If it was I was walking to school, that would be one thing. But walking into a room, how long does that take? 1 second, right? So I would use simple past here. The next one says for 6 weeks.
Has been going.
I agree there. Has been going. Or possibly has gone. I would say has been going because it's a short time, only 6 weeks. The next one, the subject is a decision. So it sounds like this is going to be passive to me.
Yeah.
Passive with present perfect.
It's made.
Already been made?
It's made.
It's made already.
Already made?
It's made.
No?
That's already made.
Has already.
Already been
Oh, it's already. Already been.
made.
Been made, right?
Oh.
It's already been made. Okay.
Now it's possible you could say is already made. That would make sense too. It is already made. The decision is already made. Because remember we talked about stative passive? Sometimes we use passive and we're using it more like an adjective. So if you wrote is made, that's fine. Preguntas, problemas.
No problem.
No problem. Excellent. Okay. Let me stop the share here. Let's talk a little bit. All right. Who do we have tonight? We have Claudia and David Segovia and Armando, Ching, Julio, Isadora, Jose, Rosendo, Leonarda, and my friend Noel. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thursday night, so the weekend is here, right? I'm going a little later tonight. I'm going to give you a writing assignment to try to do during the weekend, if possible. I understand sometimes your lives are very busy and you don't have time to write during the weekend, but if you have time, do it and I will check it for you. We'll talk about that in a minute. But tonight we're going to start with a little introduction to chapter 3 in the book. Now, chapter 3 is new for my level 4 students. So if you're a level 4, this is a new idea. And if you're a level 5 and level 6, it's a review. But this is a little bit tricky because remember, in English, when you have a question with who or what or when or where or why, we have 2 different ways we can ask that question. 2, not 4, 2. 2 ways we can ask that question. We can use what we call a direct question, right? Direct questions we've been practicing since level 1, right? I say, what is your name? Right? That's a direct question. Where do you live? That's a direct question. What do you want? That's a direct question, right? And remember, when we have a direct question in English, we have a certain pattern. Let me share the board and before I go to the presentation. Okay, let me share this board here. Okay, there we go. Can everybody see the board?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Huh? The white ball.
Whiteboard. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So in level 1, level 2, level 3, we learned how to make what is called a direct question. And to be honest, direct questions in English are a little bit tricky. They're a little bit tricky because we have to move things around a little bit. Remember, direct question goes like this. We have our question word, right? What, who, when, where, why. We have our auxiliary verb, do, does, is, are, whatever. And we have our main verb. And then we have our question mark, right? Oops, I forgot something. Students, the end of the week, I forgot about the subject. And then the main verb. There we go. So just to give you an example, maybe a question might be where do
Okay.
you live? Or what is the teacher doing? Or
Ajá, y no le cayó nada. Deja divino.
how long have
Dios mío.
or
Ay, ya, pues,
right?
ay, pues sí.
So in level 1, level 2, level 3,
Adelantar.
in level 1, level 2, level 3, we learned this kind of verb, right? Does that look familiar to you?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Of course it looks familiar, right?
No es como antes que, ok, déjalo hijo, que sí, porque vino.
Right. So where do you live? What is the teacher doing? How long have the kids been playing video games? When can we register for the next semester? Right? What's the key point? The key point is I put that auxiliary verb in that position, right? That's the thing that was really difficult for students when you were in level 1 and level 2. And sometimes level 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, right? That's what we call a direct question. Now, tonight, I'm going to review or introduce the idea of the indirect question. And we use it a lot, not as much as the direct question, but we use it a lot. And we use it for various different reasons. So let's talk about the indirect question a little bit tonight. And this will be just like an introduction because we're going to practice this all next week. So don't panic if you don't understand it on the first night. So we're going to get to it a lot next week too. So let me find my proper file here. Let's see. ¿Dónde está? Here we go.
If we don't understand, teacher, we're gonna have 3 days to cry.
That's right. 3 days to practice. That is exactly correct. All right. Sometimes we call them embedded questions. Sometimes we call them indirect questions. And I'm gonna put the mics on mute here, so we can have a nice, quiet presentation and everybody can listen carefully. And if you have questions, save them for the end because there's a little practice at the end of this presentation that we can do. All right, so embedded questions. What are we talking about? We're talking about using questions as a part of something. When we call direct questions, those are independent, right? All you have is the question. But these kinds of questions are a part of something, right? If you look at that word embedded, it means, think of it like it in bed, right? The question is inside something else. So let's take a look at this here. Indirect questions. Whenever we use an introductory clause with a question, it becomes more formal or polite. These are sometimes called embedded questions. For example, where is the main office? That's the direct question we learned in level 1, right? Where is the main office? Excuse me, can you tell me where the main office is? That's what we call an indirect or embedded question. And look what happened. We have that word is has moved, right? The word is has moved to a different position. Let's look at one more example. Oh, this kind of question can be tricky to make. So let's investigate very carefully. All right, let's talk about it. Now there's my little investigator. All right, good. He's done his job. All right, the form. Let's talk about the form, right? Even though there are many kinds of indirect questions, they always follow the same basic pattern. The connector, and the connector will be who or what or when or where or why or how long or what kind, right? Whatever the connector is, the question word. Then you'll have your subject, and finally your verb after the subject, right? The connector is the question word. Why, what, where, when, etc. Right? So we put that connector out front, and what's the difference? Remember, what did I say when we had a direct question? When we had a direct question, we had that auxiliary verb here between the connector and the subject, right? Where do you live? But I don't have that do there anymore, right? I don't need it. Let's take a look at some examples. Be careful. Remember, it is the normal affirmative sentence pattern here, not the question form, right? The direct question form is what I just put on the whiteboard, right? With do or does or is or whatever in that second position. But when we have an indirect question, no do, no does, no did. Instead, question word, subject, verb. Let me show you. What do penguins usually eat? Right? In level 1, we can make that question. Right? What do penguins usually eat? Fish, I think they eat fish. All right, what do penguins usually eat? That's a direct question. But here's an indirect question. Do you know what penguins usually eat? Right? What happened to that do? Poof, it disappeared. It disappeared. Right? I took that word do and I threw it away. Let's look at another one. How much does this router cost? Simple present with does. Do you know how much this router costs? What happened? Does disappear. And what happened to my verb? The S comes back. Do you know how much this router costs? And what about did? Right, here's our good old simple past question we learned in level 2. When did your parents come to the United States? Right, we learned that baby in level 2. Do you know when your parents came to the United States? Did, throw it away. And my verb changes back to simple past. So do, does, did, we have to be extra careful. If we have can or should or have or is or are, it's not so complicated. We just move the word. But when we have do, does, and did, we got to throw away those auxiliaries. We don't need them anymore. We don't need them anymore. And notice in each case, I have an introductory clause in front of the question word. Do you know in this case? But it could be many things. It could be, do you know? Can you tell me? Have you heard? Please tell me. I'd like to know. I wonder. Do you have any idea? Right? Many, many introductory clauses. But the key point is when I have that little clause at the beginning, I need to change my verbs. Do, out. Does, out. Did, out. And I change my verb accordingly. Now, sometimes I don't have to change anything. When is that? When I have a question word as the subject of the sentence. And it's a little bit hard to figure out if the question word is the subject, but usually the question word is the subject when there is no other noun. This happens a lot in passive, right? But let's look at some examples. In these cases, no change is necessary, right? Example, who is teaching level 3? Right? The subject of this sentence is who, right? So, no change. The direct and the indirect are the same. ¿Por qué? Because the subject is the question word. There's no other person there. What is in that closet? The subject here, what? Do you know what is in that closet? No change. Which car gets the best gas mileage? Right, the subject here, which car? So, do you know which car gets the best gas mileage? No change. No change, right? This is not true for how or when or where or why or how many or how long or how far, right? It's only true with who and which and what, those 3 words, right? Who and which and what. Could be what kind too, but who, which, what, right? Those are the 3 that are possibly subjects. Not 100%, but possibly. Be verb. Now, sometimes it's a little hard to figure out with the be verb. It can be tricky to figure out the be verb, but we always have to keep in mind the formula. Connector, subject, and verb, right? So, does anybody know who that guy is? Right here, that guy is the subject. Connector, subject, verb. Who that guy is. I don't know who was selected for the award. In this case, the subject is who. So it's a little bit tricky. Do you know what the ingredients are? Right, the subject, ingredients. I wonder what is happening. The subject, what. So notice, if who or what is the subject, no changes, right? But if I have another subject like that guy or ingredients, I have to put that be verb way at the end. So if I say, who is your teacher? You say, I'm not sure who my teacher is. But if I say, who is calling? I don't know who is calling. In one case, who is the subject? In the other case, it's not. So that's the tricky part about who and what and which. Sometimes it's the subject and sometimes it's not. So you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention. Okay. Next one. Punctuation. Let's talk about punctuating. Remember, not every embedded question needs a question mark. We use a question mark if the introductory clause is a question. For example, do you know? And a period if it's not. For example, I wonder. So you don't look at the question because the question is not part of the equation anymore. You look at the first part. Is the first part a question? Okay, we need a question mark. Is the first part a statement? Then we don't. Let me show you an example. Do you remember what Amanda said? I use a question mark here because the first part, do you remember, is a question. But on the other hand, I didn't like what Amanda said. I didn't like what Amanda said. Period. ¿Por qué? Because I didn't like is not a question. Look at another one. Do you know where Kumiko lives? Question mark, because I have a question up here. Do you know? The black part is a question. But look over here. Look at the black part here. The black part says, I wonder. That's not a question. So no question mark. So you have to be a little bit careful. Always look at the beginning of the sentence. The beginning of the sentence, a question, then use a question mark. If the beginning of the sentence is not a question, a period. So you have to be a little bit careful with those. All right, infinitives. Again, this is just a little introduction. We're going to talk about every one of these things carefully. So don't start panicking if I'm going a little bit fast. Instead of the clause, we sometimes use an infinitive after the question word, right? We say it all the time. We don't even think about it. I say, do you know how to swim? How to swim? Or do you know where to park? Where to park? So oftentimes we'll use that infinitive. Example, do you know where we can park? That is an indirect question. Connector, subject, verb. But on the other hand, do you know where to park? Infinitive, no problem. But remember, this is with can and with should. With can and with should, not with every kind of question. I don't know what I should do. That's an indirect question. I don't know what to do. That's an infinitive. I'm not sure how many hot dogs I should cook. Indirect. I'm not sure how many hot dogs to cook. Infinitive. Okay? So far, so good? All right. Moving on. Well, okay, so why do we use indirect questions? Well, we use indirect questions whenever we have something more in the sentence. We use it in the same 4 ways we use nouns and gerunds. Which means what? Could be a subject. For example, what Pedro did was very sweet. What Pedro did was very sweet. After verbs. For example, do you know where the meeting is? That's the most popular, the verb. But sometimes it could be an adjective. For example, I'm not sure what time the game starts. I'm not sure what time the game starts. Here we have the introductory clause, and then we have the embedded question. After a preposition, sometimes in, on, at, to, from, with, we use it after that. For example, I'm worried about how much this project will cost. I'm worried about how much this project will cost. About is a preposition, and then we have the embedded question. And sometimes as predicate nouns after our be verb. For example, the problem is where we can store the supplies. But notice, it doesn't matter how we use these words. the pattern is the same. Look at each one. Connector, subject, verb. 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 Notice sometimes the verb is two words, like how much or what time, but the pattern is the same. Question word, then the subject, then the verb. Question word, then the subject, then the verb. And why do we do it? Because the question is not a question anymore. The question is part of a sentence or part of a bigger question. Oh, some practice. Okay, good. All right, let me, oops, wrong button. One of these days I'll figure this out. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
All right, your microphones are on, so no bad language, please.
What's that?
No bad language.
No
All right.
bad words.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to show you some questions, and you're going to answer, I don't know. But what are you going to say? I don't know, connector, subject, verb. I don't know, connector, subject, verb. Okay, everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
All right,
don't
I don't know, maybe. All right. All right. It says, who is that man?
I don't know.
Who is
Who is
that
that
man?
man?
I don't know.
Who is that?
Who that man is.
The man is.
Exactly. I don't know who
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 that
that
man
man
is.
is.
You see what I switched around? The subject is the man. So I took is and I put it at the end. I don't know who that man is. I don't know who that man is. Why is he here? Why is he here?
Why is he here?
I don't know
I don't know why
why he is here.
Here.
Why he is here? You got it.
What
I don't
I don't
know
know why
why
he is here.
he is here.
He is here.
Excellent.
here? Okay.
Why is he here?
When did he arrive? When
I-
did he? Now this one is simple past, so we have to be
Yeah.
careful.
I don't
This one is
know.
simple past. We have to be careful, right?
Uh,
So what can we say?
the verb.
That's right.
Verb.
So I don't
When he
know
arrived.
I don't know when he
when
arrived.
he arrived,
Arrived.
right?
Okay.
Who,
I
right?
don't know when
When
he
he
He arrived.
right.
arrived.
Don't know.
Okay.
We have our question word, our subject, our verb. When he arrived. And look what happened to the verb. I put
That's
that
a verb.
I put that ed back on there, right? All right, let's look at another one. What does he want? Oh, there's does. Okay. Remember what happens to does? Throw it away.
Disappear.
Wait,
Throw it away.
What?
I
Disappear.
don't know
What?
what
he wants.
It's
I
at the
don't
it's
know
at the end.
I
I
don't know
don't
he
know
wants.
There you
what
go.
What he
he
wants.
wants.
he
I don't
wants.
know
What
he
he wants.
wants. I don't
I
know
don't
what
know what
he
he wants.
wants. Okay. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
So what did we do every time? Question word, subject, verb. Question word, subject, verb. Question word, subject, verb. Question word, subject, verb. All right. More practice. How long has he been there? That's a present perfect question. So now we
How
just have to
long?
move. We just have to move that auxiliary verb, right? So what are we going to say? I don't know.
I don't know
I don't
I
know
don't
how
know.
long
how long
How long?
He has
How long
has it been.
he has been here.
So we
Has
take,
been.
Has been
we
there.
just take the he
been
has
here.
and we flip it around, right? He
Has
has,
been here.
has he. He has he. We just flip those
Has
two
he?
words.
I don't know.
Has he
I
here?
don't know.
How
I don't
long
know how
he
long
has.
he has been here.
Right? Instead of
I
has
don't
he,
know how
I
long
say he
he
has.
has
He has been here.
Instead of
been
has
here.
he, I say he has. Okay? Why is he angry? Why is he angry?
Why?
I don't know
Why
he
he
is
Why
He is angry.
is angry.
angry?
Both reverse.
Why?
Why he
Why
is.
is angry.
Why he is.
Angry.
Right? Question word, subject, verb. Question word, subject, verb. Why he is angry.
He
Oh, this one's a little tricky. Who let him in? Who let him in?
who let
Ah,
him
Who
I don't
in?
know.
Oh,
I don't
who
know who
let
who let him in.
no change.
No change. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Oh,
Very
I
good.
don't know
Because
I
we
don't-
have who.
Exactly.
Because
In this
who?
case, the subject is who.
It's the same.
The subject is who. So I don't
And
know who let him in. I don't know who let him in. The subject is who. The subject is who. Very nice. All right, let's look at this one. Why do we have to help him? Now, this time we have the do in the question, right? What happens to do?
we throw it away.
Disappear.
Throw it away.
It's
Do we have to
appear.
change anything else?
We are.
Nope. Just throw away do and you're finished, right?
I don't
We
know.
are.
to
We
help.
are.
We have
why we have to
I
We
don't
have.
know why we have to help him,
Why we have to help.
right? I
It is.
just when you have do, just throw it away and you're finished.
Oh, okay.
Whenever you have do, just throw it away. You're done. Right? The tricky ones are does and did. Do is easy. Throw it away. You're done. Does and did are tricky, but do is easy. Now here's a did. Now this one we have to pay attention. This one we have to pay attention. How did he get our address? How did he get our address?
I don't
I don't know
how
How he got
how he
our
got our
address.
address.
He get our. He got.
I don't
Got.
know
How
how he got
he
our
got,
address.
right.
Got our address.
I changed get to
Get.
got.
Got.
¿Por qué? I don't have did anymore, right? No more did. I change it back to past tense.
Mhm.
No more did. I change it back to past tense. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. What happened to him? What happened to him? All right. How about this one?
know.
I don't know what happened.
Exactly. No
Yeah.
change. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what happened to him. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, maybe.
Why?
All right, again, look at it again. Connector, subject, verb. Connector, subject, verb. Here's the funny one because the connector and the subject are the same word. Here, connector, subject, verb. Connector, subject, verb. Connector and the subject are the same. All right, good. All right. I think I understand what the teacher said. I hope so. Maybe if the chimpanzee can learn, you can learn too.
I don't know.
He's even thinking about
It's a
it.
very intelligent chimpanzee. It's a very intelligent chimpanzee. He's been thinking very carefully about the situation. Okay, let me stop the share and see if we have any questions. Do we understand why we use these kind of questions?
Yes.
We use them because I have something in front. what we call an introductory clause. Sometimes after, but 90% of the time in front. And what are the clauses? Do you know? Can you tell me? Have you heard? Are you aware? Can you remember? Etc. 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 And why do I use those little things? It's just a little extra bit of polite. The little más cortés, right? So, for example, if I'm walking down a hall and I see another stranger walking around, and I say to the stranger, "Hey, where's the bathroom?"
I don't know.
Take it easy. Right? That's a little aggressive, right? Right? But if I say, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me where the bathroom is?" It's nicer. It's nicer, right? Right? We say, "Can you tell me?" or "I was wondering," or "I'd like to know," or
So-
Yes.
Yeah, the other example is when you go to the other house, to the friend's house,
Mhm.
and you don't know where is the restroom, and
Right.
you need to ask polite.
Right, right. Hey, can you tell me where the restroom is? Right,
Yes.
exactly. Can you tell me where the restroom is? When you're trying to be a little extra polite, right? So again, when you're talking to a stranger, or you're asking a teacher or an administrator or a boss a question, maybe put those little words in front, and it's a little more. I was wondering when the game begins, or I'm trying to find out what I have to do next, right? So it's exactly the opposite of what you've been learning in level 1 and level 2 and level 3, right? Level 1, level 2, level 3, your teacher got very angry if you put that word, that auxiliary verb, in the wrong spot. Now, in a way, this kind of indirect question is more natural for Spanish speakers, right? Because Spanish doesn't mess around with auxiliary verbs, right? You don't move things around when you make a question, right? Right? Because when I ask a question, what do I say? ¿Qué haces? Right? Right? Estudio, right? Right? So so I don't move around anything when I ask a question, right? So if I say, "Please tell me what you are doing," in a way, it's more natural for Spanish speakers to do it like that, right? It's the direct question that's the tricky one. The indirect, not so strange for Spanish speakers. All right, are you ready for some more practice?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, I'm going to go back to the board for a second, and I want everybody to get out their pencil, and I want you to copy down a few things for me, okay? Because we're going to work in groups. Okay, back to the whiteboard. Get out your pencils. Okay, this is our direct question, right? Remember what we did with the direct question? Always put those words there. Okay. All right, so. All right, write down these 4 introductory phrases.
Ay, Lupe.
Copy those down into your notes if you could. All right, everybody got those copied down?
Yes.
No.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, go ahead. And then I'm going to write another group of words for you to copy.
No, not yet. Hold on.
No, that's okay. All right, write down those question words. How many we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's do one more for 10. Let's see what when. Let's see. Just a how many? Okay, there we go.
How many?
All right. All right, everybody write down those question words, and we're going to practice a little bit. I'll give you a second to write those down. And what we're going to do is we're going to practice asking each other these questions. Does everybody have them written down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I want each of you to ask me a question, but since I am your teacher, you respect me very much.
Teacher,
Yes?
I'm sorry, I missed the last one.
The last one was how many?
How many?
How many times?
There was how many times and then how many.
How many? Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. So I want you to ask a question to me. And again, because I am your teacher, you're going to be a little more polite.
Polite.
Pretend you respect me, okay? And you will ask me a question in a little bit more polite way. Okay? So let's see. Why don't we start with Julio? Julio, what's the first question there? Is what the first question?
Yes.
Okay, so use one of those 4 introductions and then ask me the question. And everybody listen and see if he does a good indirect question.
With the first one?
Yeah. Start with those and then put what in there. So can you tell me what?
Can you tell me what you were doing?
When?
Can you tell me?
Well, let me give you an example. Maybe this will help.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Can you tell me what your favorite color is? Right? For example.
Okay.
Can you tell me what you like to do on weekends? For example. Can you tell me what your favorite flavor of ice cream is? Can you tell me what your middle name is? Whatever. Okay?
Okay.
So can you tell me what? And then ask the question.
Can you tell me what's your favorite food?
What my favorite food is?
Yes.
Yeah, my favorite food is lasagna. I love lasagna.
I know.
Delicious. All right, Ching, ask me a question.
Oh.
Whatever the next one is there. What's the next one? Where?
When?
When? Okay.
Where?
Oh, but you said, can you tell me?
Can you tell me where LAC USC hospital is?
Pardon? Oh, where the LAUSC hospital is? It is. Yes, I can. It is near East LA Occupational Center.
Wow, perfect.
All right, Armando, please ask me a
Yes,
question.
sir. Or any of the ones we write it down?
Yeah. Don't worry. Any's fine. Don't worry.
Okay.
Pick any question.
Can you please tell me when is gonna be the next test?
When the next test is going to be?
Yep.
Probably at the end of next week. Yes. So can you tell me when the next test is going to be? Right. Perfect. David Segovia, ask me a question.
Yes, teacher.
I would like to know how often do you call your mom?
Be careful. How often you call, right?
Oh.
Yeah, remember we're changing, because we say I would like to know, we have to change that question around, right? That's the whole point of our indirect question. If you say I would like to know how often you call your mom.
Your mom.
Yeah, I call, in the past I called her every week, but now that there is a coronavirus, I call her every day. I call my mom every day to check in, see if she's fine.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, because well, she's like in prison right now. They won't let her out of her apartment. Yeah, she's 82 years old and she lives in a senior apartment, and it's like being in prison. The only time she can go outside is to walk around the parking lot, and then she has to go back inside.
That's great.
Oh my God.
So I call her every day so she doesn't get too bored. All right, so the question was, can you tell me, or I was wondering, or I would like to know, how often you call your mom? Okay, all right, Isadora, ask me a question.
Can you tell me how often do you drink soda?
How often?
Do you drink soda?
No, but no do
No
you.
do.
No do you, right?
Not
Remember? No do, no does, no did.
Oh,
No do, no does, no did. They're out.
okay. Can you tell me how old you are?
Oh, yes, I can. I can tell you how old I am. I am 56 years old. 56. I'm getting old, yes. Very personal questions.
You look pretty younger, Mr. Webb.
Very personal. All right. Guadalupe, ask me a question.
Can you tell me how far is Washington, D.C.?
How far Washington, D.C.
is?
Right.
Okay.
How far Washington, D.C. is from here?
Yes.
I think it's about 3,000 miles. Más o menos. Más o menos. It's a long way. All right. Jose Garcia, please ask me a question.
I was wondering what kind of beers you drink.
What kind of beer I drink?
Yes.
My favorite kind of beer is Heineken, but I also like Sam Adams beer too. But sometimes I drink Budweiser, Corona, Dos Equis, Tecate.
Don't drink Corona right now,
whatever, Corona. Yeah. Corona is a nice beer. It's nice. It has a nice sweet flavor. Yeah,
But don't drink it right now. It's dangerous.
No Coronas right now. All right. Claudia, why don't you ask me a question?
I'm not sure if you said it. I was wondering how many times you have gone to Dodgers Stadium.
Oh, that's an excellent question. How many times I have gone to Dodger Stadium? In my life, probably, let's see, I've lived in Los Angeles for 25 years. No, wait a minute. I've lived in Los Angeles for 35 years. I have probably gone to Dodger Stadium 100 times, I suppose. Maybe. Maybe.
Every weekend.
But that's not every weekend. It's two or three times a year for 35 years.
Oh, yeah.
It's not so many if you think 35 years, but probably 100 times. Rosendo, ask me a question.
Could you tell me where Long Beach is located at?
Where Long Beach is located? Long Beach is south of Los Angeles in the South Bay. Let's see. Noel, ask me a question.
Oh, okay. I would like to know how many times have you been in Mexico?
How many times I have been?
Yeah.
I have been in Mexico only once. Only once, and that was one afternoon in Tijuana.
Oh,
I need to go to Mexico for vacation, right?
Yeah, you
Do
should.
they have a coronavirus down in Mexico now, or is it okay?
No, they do have. Yeah.
They have. Oh, so
Yeah.
I better wait. Maybe next year.
Next year, yeah.
Next
After
year,
the pass.
after the crisis passes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really have been wanting to go to Mexico for a vacation for a long time, but I still have not gone. Yeah. The problem is whenever I have vacation time, I either go to my hometown or my wife's hometown. Since my wife and I are both not from Los Angeles, every time we have a vacation, we go to visit our family. We never go to any other place. So maybe I should start taking vacations to other places. All right, David Azuela.
Okay. I was wondering why your students left early.
Why the students left early? I don't know. My class is so interesting and so important. I don't know why they left early. That's a good question. All right, Leonardo, ask me one question. Leo Gomez, are you there? Okay. Nobody home? All right. Well, we'll have to pass her for right now.
The question, do you drink soda? No. Pero can you tell me how often you drink soda? Is okay?
How often you drink soda? Exactly. How often you drink. Okay. Everybody got the idea? All right. I'm going to put you in a little group so you can practice asking each other questions now. All right. Remember, what are we trying to do every time? We put our introductory phrase. I was wondering, can you tell me? I'd like to know. Please tell me. And then we have our question word and our subject and our verb. All right? So just listen to some examples and then I'll send you off to your groups. What's the first one? What, right? The first one on the list is what?
What?
Oh, so I could say, please tell me what your favorite kind of music is. Okay? What's the next one?
What is
When?
When? I'd like to know when you came to the United States. What's the next one?
Where?
Where?
Please tell me where you like to go on weekends. The next
How
one.
long?
How long? I would like to know how long you have been living here.
How often?
How often? Please tell me how often you go shopping.
Why?
I'd like to know why you are studying English.
Who?
What's the next one?
Who?
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 Who? Okay. Please tell me who you live with.
How far?
How far?
So far. So far.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to know how far you live from the school.
How many times?
Please tell me how many times you have been to Disneyland.
How many?
I'd like to know how many children you have.
No.
All right. So easy for me, right?
For you.
All right.
Teacher, I have a question for you.
Yes,
How many children have you or you have?
You have.
You have. Okay.
I want to know how many children you have. Right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to put you in 3 different rooms. So you're going to have 3 or 4 people in each room. Okay. All right. So just go around in a circle and ask each other questions. It's right now about 8:15. Let's practice for maybe 10 minutes. Okay. Sounds good?
Yes.
And then we're going to practice a lot more next week. But this is just our introduction. So again, introductory clause, question word, and then you, right? How long you, where you, when you, or whatever the question subject is. Okay? No problems?
No.
All right. Is everybody ready for some practice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. I'm going to push the button and send you on your way. All right. Go ahead and push that button. There you go. Push that button and join your group. There we go.
I have the Toyota
SUV, Toyota,
Forerunner.
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 Very
Okay.
nice.
Rosendo,
Yes.
can you tell me how far your Mexican house is?
Mhm.
My Mexican houses.
Your Mexican house?
Yeah,
Your hometown, huh?
yeah.
Your
In Mexico.
hometown.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Your home in Mexico.
It's far away
How
from
far
here.
your home in Mexico is from here?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's far
It-
away?
How far
Fly,
away it is? Yes.
flying is 2 hours.
Okay, good. Good.
Okay, Rosendo, ask me a question.
Okay. I wonder where you like to go on vacation.
Where do I like to go on vacation? Well, my favorite place to go for vacation was Italy. I went there 2 times. I went,
Don't go to Italy.
I went, not right now, no.
Not anymore.
But Italy was my favorite vacation place I've ever gone. I went there when I was a student, and then I went there one more time on my honeymoon. I went to Italy for my
You went?
honeymoon.
Very nice.
My honeymoon, yeah, it was nice. Rome and not Paris, but Rome and Venice and Florence.
Oh,
Bene.
oh,
Very
It's
nice.
it's so
very nice.
nice.
Yes.
Italy, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Italy the last year.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Good thing you went last year. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
What's that?
What cities did you visit?
Rome,
Mhm.
Venice, Milan, and
Oh,
that's it.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds
And then
fantastic.
fly to England.
Well, that sounds like a great vacation.
Yeah, it was good.
It was just your vacation?
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Short vacations all day.
All right.
Short vacations, yeah.
All right. Keep practicing. I'll call you back in a minute, okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right. See you later.
Bye, teacher.
Okay.